What's up, guys? It's your local Realized man checking in once again in the Realized car. And in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about regret, which is probably one of the worst emotions you could ever feel. One of the most dense emotions that can really weigh in and kind of ruin your stuff, ruin your life if you constantly are feeling it, right? I want to weigh in on that today and give you guys some strategies on how to overcome and how to deal with it. But first, I want to give you my story in regards to regret. A couple years ago, when I was 12 years old, so way back, right? I used to have this friend, let's call him Jim for the sake of this video, right? I used to have this overweight friend called Jim, right? And we used to be best buddies, we used to hang out. Then what happened was my dad changed jobs and we had to move towns. So I left Jim in that town where I lived in. I moved to another rural town. During the first couple months when I was in this new town, Jim would call me up like every weekend or so just to see how I was doing, just to catch up and we'll have good conversations and stuff. The problem was I would never call him back. I kind of felt this weird entitlement that he should call me for whatever reason. I don't know why. So he kept calling me and we'd talk and we'd talk. But a couple of months down the line, he kind of gradually he just stopped calling me. But I never, checked up on it. I never checked up on what he was doing. I never bothered to call him back. Remember, this is back in the day. This is before Facebook. This is before MySpace. This is before you could just like go on the internet and see what everybody's doing. You had to literally call people back then. So, yeah, I just didn't think much of it and just carried on with my life. Fast forward a couple of years. I'm playing Xbox Live, right? You know that online video game shit? I'm not sure if people still play Xbox Live, or I'm not even sure what it's called these days. I don't really play games, but it's called Xbox Live, right? I'm playing that. I'm playing Halo. And I'm playing with some of his friends online. Some other friends, not Jim, but some of his friends from that town online. And I just happened to mention, I'm like, oh, hey guys, what's happening with Jim? I haven't heard from him lately. I haven't heard from him in years. They're like, oh, bro, Jim is skinny as. He lost so much weight. And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, that's heaps good. They're like, oh, yeah, he's lost so much weight ever since his dad passed away. Now I remember that moment exactly when I heard it. That was probably one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced. One of the biggest, most just regret, right? It turns out that Jim's father actually got hit by a truck while he was riding a bike, because he used to like riding mountain bikes on the road. So he got hit by a freaking truck. And this actually happened 3 years before I heard this, right? From the time I heard it happened 3 years prior. So I heard this 3 years late. And I felt so much regret that I wasn't able to be there with my friend to check up on him, to see how he was doing, to help him through that process when I could have, or because I chose to not call him, or because I couldn't be bothered. So that regret stayed with me for a long time. I even tried, I definitely called him like that day, but things were already fucked up, right? So that regret stayed with me for a long time. So what you have to understand about regret is human beings, we're all fallible, right? We all make mistakes. But when it's our own mistakes, it seems to be harder to forgive than others, because we live with ourselves, right? We see the world through our lens. You stay with yourself throughout your whole life. So you kind of hold yourself to a higher standard. So when you make mistakes, it's really, you always feel like you shouldn't have done that. But what you have to understand is, a lot of the things we do are out of ignorance. If we knew the outcomes of all our actions, half the things that we do that we regret, wouldn't make them. No one intentionally does things to regret it in the future, right? This is just what happens out of ignorance and whatever factors are happening. So you have to understand that. You have to give yourself permission to make these mistakes, because you're human. So in life, we might feel regret about, how we didn't spend enough time with a loved one before they passed away. We might feel regret about how we didn't invest in ourselves when we were younger, and now our lives are very difficult, or we're stuck in a rat race. We might feel regret about the way we treated someone. We might feel regret about not taking care of our health when we were younger, not taking care of our diets, our fitness, and smoking too much, and now we have cancer. All these things can come up and we feel regret about them. But what's important in all this is to not feel the regret, but to learn the lesson from the experience, right? In life, you're gonna hit these obstacles. It's inevitable. And there's two things you can do. You can either hit the obstacle and keep making the same mistakes, or you can hit the obstacle and learn from it. Regret is just a thing that helps you learn from the experience. So whenever you're reflecting back on memories in which you regret, just remember the experience, that the thing that you learned from the experience is what I'm trying to say here. Remember the lesson. Don't vividly imagine the memory in the first person view. Don't personalize everything. Don't relive through everything, because what's the point of beating yourself down, right? You've lived through that. You've learned that lesson. Move on, right? Move on and make better decisions in the future. Don't lower your self-esteem because of the things you've done in the past. The future is promising. The present's even more promising, right? So that's why I always tell people when they're talking about regret, just learn the lesson and move on. I know it's easier said than done, but that's all you can do. Otherwise, you're going to be one of these people that's beating themselves down constantly and just remembering the past and sacrificing their quality of life because of the mistakes they made in the past. If you have to reflect back on the memory, reflect in the third person. Remember that video I made about NLP? Associative and dissociative memories. Dissociate from the memory. See it from the third person, from a different vantage point, and experience it that way. That way you don't have to go through all those emotions again. Anyway, guys, that's my video on dealing with regret. I'm talking about major regret here. I'm not talking about the regret of not investing in Bitcoin or whatever the fuck. I'm talking about proper regret here. And that's how you deal with it. You take the lesson and move on. Till next time, guys. Peace.
So, this is the end of the video. You must have really liked it if you got this far. Yeah, am I right? Yeah, am I right? Okay. If you liked it, please click subscribe and hit the post notifications, because YouTube is doing this weird thing right now where if you subscribe, it doesn't even show you my videos. Very strange stuff. But yeah, click those post notifications. We're all good. Till next time.